The docking clamps released with a hiss that echoed through the airlock. Nina Grant felt the familiar pull of artificial gravity as she stepped onto Meridian 7 for the first time. Behind her, Daniel Wu carried their equipment cases with practiced ease. The trade station stretched in all directions, a city floating in the void between stars. Hess waited at the arrival gate, all four of his insectoid arms moving in what Nina had learned was a Quilvan greeting. His crystalline eyes caught the light from a dozen different angles as he approached. Nina returned the gesture as best she could with only two arms. "Welcome, Dr. Grant. Your medical files arrived before you did. Fascinating reading." Hess clicked his mandibles together in what might have been excitement or concern. Nina couldn't tell yet. "I hope everything was in order," she said, keeping her tone neutral. "In order, yes. Expected. Not entirely." Hess led them through corridors packed with aliens of every shape and size. Some walked on two legs, others on 4 or 6. A few floated past using personal gravity fields. "Your bone density is remarkable for a species your size, and these endurance markers in your cardiovascular system." Daniel shot Nina a look that said he'd heard this before. Every new species they met seemed fascinated by human biology, though usually for different reasons. The Brevets admired human tool-making abilities. The Centauri found human emotional range unusual. The Quilvans, apparently, liked to focus on the medical data. They reached the residential wing where Nina and Daniel would stay for the next 6 months. The cultural exchange program sounded simple enough. Live among the aliens, share information about Earth, learn about galactic society. Nina had jumped at the chance. Daniel had been assigned as security, though the station was supposed to be the safest place in this sector. "I've prepared a workspace for you in the research wing," Hess continued, his arms gesturing as he spoke. "We have specimens from 40 different worlds. I'm particularly interested in your perspective on predator-prey dynamics." Nina nodded, already thinking about the comparative analysis she could do. Earth had such a diverse range of ecosystems. Surely there were parallels with alien worlds. The emergency alarm started 3 hours later. Nina was unpacking when the sound cut through the residential wing. Red lights flashed in patterns she didn't recognize yet. Daniel appeared in her doorway immediately, his training kicking in before his mind fully processed the situation. "Stay here," he said, already moving toward the corridor. Not a chance. Nina grabbed her data pad and followed. Whatever was happening, she wanted to see it. The corridors had emptied fast. Aliens of all species were sealing themselves into rooms, following protocols Nina didn't know. Only security personnel moved through the halls and they all looked terrified. That seemed wrong somehow. Security shouldn't look scared during emergencies. Hess appeared around a corner, running in a stumbling gait that his 4 arms couldn't quite balance. He nearly crashed into Nina before stopping. "Research wing," he gasped. "Containment breach. The Tarjesh escaped." Nina felt something shift in her thinking. Tarjesh. She'd read about them in the station files. Apex predators from a world where everything evolved to kill. 12 feet of muscle and claw, intelligent enough to problem solve, aggressive enough to attack anything that moved. "Where?" Daniel asked, his voice calm in a way that made other people calm too. "Ventilation systems. It could be anywhere by now." Hess's crystalline eyes darted around as if expecting an attack from any direction. Commander Rauch ordered a full lockdown. "We're supposed to wait in secured areas until defense teams can track it down." Nina pulled up the station schematic on her data pad. The ventilation network connected every section. Good for air circulation. Perfect for a predator that wanted to move unseen. "What's its hunting pattern?" she asked. Hess stared at her. "It's what?" "How does it hunt? Does it ambush or chase? Does it mark territory? How good is its sense of smell compared to its eyesight?" Nina was already analyzing the data files on Tarjesh biology. If we know how it thinks, we can predict where it'll go. Dr. Grant, with respect, we should leave this to security. Hess backed away slightly. The Targesh is extremely dangerous. Everything's dangerous until you understand it. Nina studied the ventilation map, tracing possible routes. Look here. The research wing has the strongest environmental controls because of the specimens you keep there. The Targesh came from a hot, humid world. It's going to follow the air currents that feel most like home. Daniel leaned over her shoulder, seeing what she was seeing. Temperature gradients. We can narrow down its position by checking which sections match its preferred environment. Hess made a sound that might have been distress. You're talking about tracking it. We should hide and wait for professionals. Nina looked up at him, and something in her expression made the Quilvan researcher take another step back. She didn't feel afraid. She felt focused in a way that regular work never made her feel. There was a problem that needed solving, a pattern that needed understanding. "Take us to Commander Rauch," she said. "We can help." The command center occupied the station's core, protected by reinforced walls and multiple security checkpoints. Rauch stood in the middle of organized chaos, his 4 arms managing different communication channels at once. The brevet commander saw them enter, and his expression hardened. "Civilians should be in lockdown," he said. "Dr. Grant has a theory about the Targesh's location," Hess offered weakly. Nina didn't wait for permission. She stepped up to the central display and pulled up the environmental data. "It's following the warm air currents. Here, here, and here." She marked 3 sections on the map. These areas have the temperature and humidity closest to its home world. If I were a predator in an unfamiliar environment, I'd seek out what felt familiar first. Rauch studied the map, then studied Nina. "You're making a lot of assumptions about an alien creature's thinking." "Predators are predators," Nina said simply. "The environment changes, but the logic stays the same. Familiar territory means safety. Safety means a good place to hunt from." One of Rauch's security officers checked the sensors for the marked areas. His face went pale, which was impressive for his species. "Commander, we're reading movement in Section C7. That's one of the doctor's predicted locations." Rauch's 4 eyes focused on Nina with new intensity. The command center had gone quiet. Everyone was listening now. "What else can you tell me about how it thinks?" Rauch asked. Nina felt Daniel move beside her, ready to back whatever play she made. She pulled up the Targesh biological data and started explaining, her mind already 3 steps ahead, already seeing the patterns that others missed. Outside, somewhere in the station's dark corridors, the Targesh was hunting, but it didn't know yet that it had become the hunted. Rauch didn't want to give them weapons. Nina didn't blame him. From his perspective, 2 humans he just met were asking for access to the armory to hunt down the most dangerous creature on the station. It sounded insane even to her. But the Targesh had already killed 3 security officers in Section C7, and Rauch's teams were making no progress. Every time they got close, the creature vanished into the ventilation system or doubled back through maintenance tunnels. It was learning their patterns faster than they could adapt. "Non-lethal equipment only," Rauch finally agreed. "Stun batons and shock nets. You'll wear body cameras. I want to see everything you do." Nina nodded. That was fair. Daniel checked the equipment with the efficiency of someone who'd handled weapons his entire adult life. The alien security officers watched him, noting how comfortable he seemed with tools designed for violence. Hess insisted on coming with them. "For scientific observation," he said, though his crystalline eyes showed fear. Nina suspected he couldn't resist the chance to study humans in action. His species valued knowledge above almost everything else. The maintenance level was darker than the main corridors. Emergency lighting cast long shadows between pipes and conduits. Nina moved slowly, watching for disturbances in the dust on the floor. There. Claw marks. Recent ones. "It passed through here maybe 20 minutes ago," she said quietly. How can you possibly know that? Hess whispered, all four of his arms clutching his recording equipment. The dust hasn't settled completely yet. See how it's still slightly suspended in the air. Nina pointed to particles caught in the emergency lights. And the metal here is scratched but not corroded. If it was older, you'd see oxidation starting. Daniel crouched beside another mark. It's moving in a circuit, testing the territory, learning the layout. He looked at Nina. Smart. Very smart. Nina pulled up the station map on her pad. It's not just running, it's planning. Look at these marks. They're all at junction points where multiple corridors meet. It's marking decision points. Hess made a clicking sound of distress. You're saying it's intelligent enough to map the station. Most apex predators are highly intelligent. They have to be. Hunting requires problem solving. Nina traced the pattern of marks on her map. It's creating a mental territory map. Once it knows every route, every hiding spot, every escape path, it'll start hunting in earnest. From somewhere in the darkness ahead, metal scraped against metal. All three of them froze. Nina's heart rate increased, but not with panic, with focus. Her mind cataloged the sound, the direction, the implications. Ventilation shaft, Daniel breathed. 40 meters ahead, upper level. They moved forward. Nina noticed how Daniel automatically took point, his body positioned to intercept any threat. She moved to his left, keeping angles of sight clear. Behind them, Hess tried to copy their spacing but didn't understand why they positioned themselves that way. The ventilation shaft opening was 3 meters off the ground. Fresh claw marks scored the metal around it. Nina studied them carefully, then looked at Daniel. He nodded, understanding without words what she'd noticed. It's waiting up there, Nina said softly, testing us, trying to figure out if we're prey or competition. How do you know it hasn't already left through the shaft? Hess asked. Because a predator that intelligent doesn't waste an opportunity to learn about potential threats. Nina raised her voice slightly. It's watching us right now, listening to how we communicate, seeing how we move. Something shifted in the darkness of the shaft. Hess made a sound of pure terror and stumbled backward. Daniel's hand went to his stun baton, but he didn't draw it yet. Nina stepped forward, directly under the shaft opening. She looked up into the darkness and saw 2 amber eyes reflecting the emergency lights. The Tarjesh's head emerged slowly from the shaft. 12 feet of apex predator, all muscle and intelligence and killing tools. It studied her, she studied it back. Hello there, Nina said calmly as if greeting a neighbor. You're a long way from home. The Tarjesh's eyes tracked her movements. Its head tilted slightly, processing. This wasn't how prey acted. Prey ran or froze in fear. This small creature stood its ground and met its gaze directly. Nina spread her arms slowly, making herself appear larger, an old primate trick that still worked across species. This isn't your territory, you know that. You're stressed, confused, looking for familiar ground. I get it, but you're scaring people who don't understand you. Dr. Grant, Hess whispered urgently, please step away from there. The Tarjesh's attention snapped to Hess. The Quilvan researcher represented everything its instincts recognized as prey. Fast movement, fear signals, weak protest sounds. The creature's muscles tensed, preparing to strike. No, Nina said sharply. The word carried command weight. He's not for you. The Tarjesh looked back at her. Something like confusion crossed its face. This tiny creature was giving it orders, using alpha predator tones, claiming the terrified one as pack. Daniel moved then, circling right while the creature was focused on Nina. Not aggressive, just repositioning. The Tarjesh tracked the movement instantly, recognizing pack hunting tactics. Its eyes widened slightly. These small creatures weren't prey. They moved like hunters, coordinated, calm under pressure. The big one's positioning was deliberate, creating a flanking advantage. Nina saw the moment the Tarjesh's threat assessment changed. Its posture shifted from offensive to defensive. It wasn't looking at food anymore. It was looking at competitors. "That's right," Nina said softly. "We're not running. We're not hiding. We're here to take you somewhere safe where you won't hurt anyone and no one will hurt you. You can do this the easy way or the hard way, but either way, you're going back to containment." The Tarjesh growled, a sound that made Hess whimper, but it also backed deeper into the shaft, creating distance. Nina pressed the advantage, moving forward slowly but steadily. "Easy way is better," she continued. "You're tired, hungry, stressed. You've been running for hours in an environment that feels wrong. I'm offering you rest and food and a space that feels like home again." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the Tarjesh made a decision. It turned and moved deeper into the ventilation system, but slower now. Not fleeing, retreating with dignity. Nina marked its direction on her map. "It's heading toward Cargo Bay 4. That's where we stored the environmental pods from its home world." "It's going home," Daniel said quietly. "Smart predator," Nina replied. "Always knows where the safe ground is." They followed at a careful distance, herding rather than chasing. Behind them, Hess recorded everything with shaking hands, his scientific mind overwhelmed by what he'd just witnessed. Two humans had faced down a creature that terrified the entire station, and somehow, impossibly, they'd made it back down without violence. Just understanding, just pattern recognition, just one predator speaking to another in a language older than words. The council chamber made Nina uncomfortable. Too many eyes watching, too many minds analyzing. Myra, the Centauri representative, stood at the center of the circular room, her flowing robes moving in a breeze that didn't exist. Her species could read surface thoughts, sense emotions. Nina had been warned to keep her mind calm. That was easier said than done, when you were being investigated like a potential threat. "Dr. Grant," Myra said, her voice like wind through leaves, "we've reviewed the footage from your encounter with the Tarjesh. The council has concerns." Nina stood beside Daniel, both of them in formal uniforms now. Ralk watched from his council position, his four arms folded in what Nina had learned was thoughtful consideration. Hess sat nearby, his recording equipment silent for once. "What kind of concerns?" Nina asked. Myra gestured and a hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed Nina standing under the ventilation shaft, meeting the Tarjesh's gaze. "You displayed no fear response. Your heart rate remained steady. Your body language indicated confidence, not terror." "I was focused on the situation," Nina said carefully. "Yes, the same way a predator focuses on prey." Myra's glowing eyes studied Nina. "I touched your surface thoughts during that moment, Dr. Grant. What I felt was not the mind of someone defending themselves. It was the mind of someone hunting." The chamber went quiet. Nina felt dozens of alien species all watching her reaction. She chose honesty. "The Tarjesh needed to be contained. I was working to contain it." "By establishing dominance," Myra countered. "By making yourself appear as the superior predator. These are not prey behaviors, Dr. Grant. These are predator behaviors." Daniel spoke up. "With respect, Representative Myra, Dr. Grant used nonviolent communication to resolve a dangerous situation. Isn't that what you want from council members? De-escalation." "De-escalation," a Quilvan counselor named Tess said from her position, "typically involves reducing threat levels." Dr. Grant increased threat levels. She challenged a creature known for responding to challenges with violence, yet it retreated from her. Why? Nina took a breath. "Because it recognized us as fellow apex predators. The Tarjesh is intelligent. It understands hierarchy and territory. I spoke to it in ways it would understand." "And what ways are those?" Myra asked softly. "Confidence, clear boundaries, pack coordination." Nina glanced at Daniel. "We showed it that we weren't afraid, that we worked together, that we claimed the space it was in. Those are universal predator languages." Tess clicked her mandibles nervously. You speak of predator languages as if you're fluent in them. Humans are fluent in them, Nina said. We had to be. Earth is a competitive world. Ralk leaned forward. We've been researching Earth since the incident. Your world has a remarkable diversity of predator species, yet humans survived and thrived. How? Nina knew this question was coming. She'd prepared for it but still didn't like the answer she had to give. We outcompeted them. Humans are persistent predators. We don't have the speed of Earth's big cats or the strength of bears, but we can track prey for days without stopping. We can plan hunts that take weeks to execute. We can adapt to any environment and learn any prey's patterns. You hunted other predators, Myra said. It wasn't a question. Yes, we hunted everything. That's how we survived. Nina pulled up data on her pad and projected it into the chamber. Humans evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. Predators, diseases, environmental extremes. We survived by becoming better at survival than anything else on the planet. The hologram showed Earth's food chain with humans at the top. But unlike most apex predators, the human position showed connections to tools, fire, social cooperation, and learning. Hess spoke for the first time. I've analyzed human biology extensively over the past 3 days. The patterns are undeniable. Forward-facing eyes for depth perception and tracking. Endurance-based cardiovascular systems for long chases. Minimal body hair for heat dissipation during extended runs. Opposable thumbs for tool creation and weapon use. You're built for hunting. We're built for survival, Nina corrected. Hunting was just one part of it. A significant part, Myra said. She gestured and new footage appeared. Daniel during the Targesh encounter, moving with tactical precision. Ambassador Hayes arrives tomorrow. We've reviewed his history as well. Military service. Special operations. Your species has formalized the art of hunting other sapient beings. The accusation hung in the air. Nina felt anger rise but pushed it down. Getting defensive wouldn't help. War is different from hunting. Is it? Tess asked. You track enemies, you plan attacks, you coordinate in groups, you use tools designed to kill. These are all hunting behaviors applied to sapient targets. Daniel stepped forward. Every species in this council has had wars. Conflict isn't unique to humans. True, Myra acknowledged. But the efficiency of human warfare is unusual. You don't just fight, you study your enemies. You learn their patterns. You adapt faster than they can counter. These are apex predator traits. Nina saw where this was going. The council wasn't just concerned about one incident with an escaped creature. They were reevaluating everything they thought they knew about humanity. She decided to lean into it. Yes, she said clearly. Humans are apex predators. We evolved that way because Earth gave us no choice. But being a predator doesn't mean being violent or aggressive. It means being capable. It means being adaptable. It means being able to face threats without collapsing in fear. She gestured to the footage of the Targesh encounter. I didn't hurt that creature. I communicated with it. I understood its fear and stress. I offered it a way out that preserved its dignity. That's not predatory behavior. That's intelligent behavior. Intelligence in service of predatory capability, Myra said softly. That's what concerns us, Dr. Grant. A predator that can think like prey can get close to prey. A predator that can feel empathy can manipulate prey's emotions. You're not just apex predators. You're apex predators that can pretend to be anything you need to be. The silence that followed was heavy. Nina realized they'd reached the core of the council's fear. Not that humans were predators, but that humans were adaptable predators. Ones who could blend in, build trust, and then reveal capabilities that other species never saw coming. Ralk spoke into the quiet. The question before this council is simple. Can we trust a species that evolved to hunt, that's good at hunting, and that's smart enough to hide its hunting nature until it's too late to defend against? Nina met his 4 eyes steadily. The question you should be asking is different. Can you afford not to trust a species that chose to build civilizations instead of hunting grounds? We could have stayed predators. We chose to be more. That choice matters more than our evolution. Myra tilted her head, considering. We'll see, Dr. Grant. Ambassador Hayes arrives tomorrow. Perhaps he can help us understand the nature of humanity's choice. This session is adjourned. As they left the chamber, Daniel leaned close to Nina. That went well. That was a disaster, Nina muttered. They're scared of us. Can you blame them? Daniel asked quietly. We are scary when you think about it. Nina couldn't argue with that. Patrick Hayes stepped off the transport with the bearing of a man who'd walked into hostile territory 100 times before. Nina watched the aliens in the docking bay unconsciously step back as he passed. They couldn't articulate why, but their prey instincts recognized something dangerous. Hess stood beside Nina, all four arms fidgeting with his recording device. Your ambassador has an intense presence. He's a good man, Nina said. But yes, intense is the right word. Patrick spotted them and smiled. The expression was warm and genuine, but Nina noticed how his eyes had already cataloged every exit, every person, every potential threat in the bay. Old habits died hard. Dr. Grant, Mr. Wu, Patrick shook their hands. I hear you've been causing a stir. We contained a dangerous predator, Daniel said. The council took it personally. They're scared, Patrick said bluntly. Can't say I blame them. They pulled my service record, saw some things that probably didn't help our case. Ralk approached with a security escort, his four arms held in formal greeting posture. Ambassador Hayes, welcome to Meridian 7. The council requests your presence immediately. Of course, Patrick didn't seem bothered by the lack of rest time or courtesy. Let's not keep them waiting. The council chamber was fuller this time. Representatives from dozens of species lined the circular room. Nina, Daniel, and Patrick stood in the center, surrounded. It felt deliberately intimidating. Myra spoke first. Ambassador Hayes, your military record makes for disturbing reading. I'm proud of my service, Patrick said calmly. I protected people who needed protecting. By hunting other humans, Tess said. By applying predatory tactics to sapient beings. Your missions included tracking, infiltration, ambush, and elimination of targets. These are hunting activities. Patrick nodded slowly. They are. War is organized hunting. I won't pretend otherwise, but context matters. I hunted people who were hurting innocents, people who wouldn't stop unless they were stopped. And you were exceptionally good at it, Myra said. Your success rate is 93% across 2 decades of operations. You didn't just hunt. You perfected the art of human-on-human predation. I learned from the best, Patrick agreed. Studied history, analyzed failures, adapted constantly. That's what humans do. We learn and improve. Ralk leaned forward. This is our concern, Ambassador. Humans don't just have predatory capability. You have predatory culture. You study violence. You refine it. You pass knowledge down through generations. You've turned hunting into science. Patrick was quiet for a moment. Then he gestured to the council members. May I ask a question? Myra nodded permission. How many of your species have had wars? Patrick asked. Hands, tentacles, and appendages rose throughout the chamber. Nearly every species. And how many of you studied those wars afterward, analyzed what went wrong, learned from mistakes? Patrick continued. The appendages stayed raised. Then we're not so different, Patrick said. The only distinction is that humans got very good at learning those lessons. We're persistence learners the same way we're persistence hunters. We don't give up on understanding something until we master it. That's precisely what terrifies us, Tess said. You apply predatory focus to everything. Not just hunting, not just war, everything. Patrick smiled without humor. You're right to be scared. If humans decided to be a threat, we'd be a terrifying one. But here's what you're missing. We made a different choice." He pulled up a hologram of Earth. "My world has 8 billion humans. We have weapons that could sterilize the surface. We have the capability to hunt each other to extinction. But we don't. We chose to build cities instead of hunting grounds. We chose to protect the weak instead of culling them. We chose cooperation over competition." "A choice that could be unmade," Myra said softly. "If humans felt threatened, if survival instincts overrode civilized behavior." "Yes," Patrick admitted. "It could. That's the nature of choice. It's not permanent. It's something we make every day, every generation. But that's also what makes it meaningful. We're not passive prey pretending to be civilized. We're active predators choosing civilization." Hess spoke up, surprising everyone. "I've been studying human culture for days now, beyond the biology. Your literature, art, philosophy. You create stories about the struggle between civilization and savagery. You're conscious of your own nature in ways most species aren't." "Because we have to be," Nina said. "We know what we're capable of. We teach our children about it. We build laws and social structures to channel those capabilities toward construction instead of destruction." "But those structures could fail," Ralph said. "During crisis, during war, during resource scarcity." Patrick met his eyes. "They could, but they haven't. Humans have faced extinction-level threats multiple times in our history. Climate shifts, disease, resource collapse. We survived by working together, not by hunting each other. Our predatory nature helped us survive the threats. Our social nature helped us survive each other." "Pretty words," Tess said, "but we have only your assurance that they're true." "No," Patrick said. "You have our history. You have our actions. You have the fact that we joined your council seeking cooperation, not conquest. You have Nina and Daniel risking their lives to protect this station from a threat. You have me, standing here answering questions instead of taking offense at being treated like a threat." He paused, letting that sink in. "Judge us by our actions, not your fears. Yes, we're apex predators. Yes, we're dangerous. But we're dangerous to threats, not friends. We're the predators that hunt predators." Myra closed her eyes, sensing the emotions in the room. Fear, uncertainty, but also consideration. The council was thinking, not just reacting. "We need time to deliberate," she said finally. "Ambassador Hayes, you and your team will remain on the station under observation. We'll review everything we've learned and reach a decision about humanity's place in the council." "That's fair," Patrick said. "Take all the time you need. We're patient. Persistence predators usually are." As they left the chamber, Nina noticed something. The aliens still backed away from Patrick, but now some of them nodded respectfully as he passed. Fear was giving way to understanding. Slowly. In the corridor, Hess caught up to them. "Ambassador, may I continue my observations, for scientific purposes?" Patrick smiled genuinely this time. "Of course. Just remember, we're not specimens, we're people. Dangerous people, maybe, but still people." "I'm beginning to understand that," Hess said quietly. "The distinction is important." "The most important distinction there is," Patrick agreed. Somewhere in the station, in secure channels, the council began its debates. Meanwhile, 3 humans walked through alien corridors, aware of the eyes watching, the minds analyzing, the fear slowly transforming into something else. Respect, maybe, or at least the beginning of it. The distress call from Haven's Rest came through during the 3rd day of council deliberations. Ralph's face went pale as he listened to the transmission, his forearms tense with stress. Nina watched from the observation deck where she'd been reviewing data with Hess. "Kryn Raiders," Ralph said heavily. 40 ships. They've given the colony 1 hour to surrender." "How far is council defense?" Patrick asked. He'd appeared in the command center within seconds of the alert, that old military instinct pulling him toward crisis. 3 days minimum," Ralph said. "Haven's Rest has minimal defenses. Mixed population, mostly civilians. They can't hold against a Kryn force that size." Nina pulled up the colony data. How many humans there? 53, Ralk said. Out of 800 colonists, why does that matter? Because I know Commander Bates Stone, Patrick said quietly. She runs security there. If she's still alive, she's not surrendering. The transmission from Haven's Rest came through then. Bates' voice was calm, almost conversational. Kryn Fleet, this is Commander Stone. Your surrender demand is denied. I suggest you reconsider your approach. The Kryn response was harsh laughter. Human, you have 200 security personnel against our 2,000 raiders. Your weapons are outdated. Your defenses are minimal. Surrender or die. Those are certainly options, Bate agreed. But you're forgetting a few things. First, you're attacking a multi-species colony. That makes you council enemies now, not just pirates. Second, you're 3 days from any reinforcements. Third, and this is important, you're fighting humans. 50 humans, the Kryn commander sneered. Against 2,000 Kryn warriors, your math is terrible. My math is fine, Bates said. You're thinking about this wrong. You're not fighting 50 humans. You're fighting 50 apex predators who just claimed 800 civilians as their pack. We take protecting our pack very seriously. The transmission cut off. Ralk stared at the screen. She's going to get everyone killed. No, Patrick said. She's going to win. Bate doesn't bluff. That's impossible, Tess said from her council position. The numbers don't work. Unless, she trailed off, her mandibles clicking nervously, unless humans are even more dangerous than we thought. Nina accessed Haven's Rest external cameras. The feed showed the colony, a cluster of dome structures on an alien world with orange skis. Kryn ships were landing, deploying raiders in organized formations. They moved with the confidence of predators who'd done this 100 times before. Bates' forces weren't visible yet. Smart. Don't show the enemy your positions until you understand theirs. Can we help them? Daniel asked Ralk. Not in time, Ralk said heavily. Even if we sent our fastest ships now, it's a 3-day journey. Then we watch, Patrick said grimly, and we learn whether the Council's fears about humans are justified or not. The first Kryn units entered the colony perimeter. Nothing happened. They advanced further, weapons ready, expecting resistance. Still nothing. They began to relax, thinking the humans had fled or hidden. That's when Bate sprang the first trap. The ground beneath a Kryn squad collapsed, sending them into a pit lined with sharp debris. Not lethal, but certainly incapacitating. Before the other raiders could react, human defenders appeared on rooftops, using improvised weapons to create chaos and confusion. Then they vanished again. Hit-and-run tactics, Patrick murmured, watching the feeds. She's not trying to hold ground, she's trying to bleed them. The Kryn commander ordered his forces to spread out, cover more ground. Bate had predicted that. Human defenders had prepared ambush points throughout the colony. Every time Kryn forces split up, they walked into traps, snares, deadfalls, improvised explosives made from colony equipment. She's hurting them, Nina said, seeing the pattern. Look at the engagement points. She's controlling where they go, how they spread out. She's making them predictable. Hess was recording everything, his crystalline eyes wide. This is persistence hunting, extended engagement. She's not trying to win quickly, she's trying to exhaust them. Humans can fight for days without meaningful rest, Patrick explained to the watching council members. We evolved for it. The Kryn are strong and aggressive, but they're sprint predators. They expect quick victories. Bates turning this into a marathon. By nightfall, the Kryn had taken casualties without ever holding ground. Their commander was frustrated, making increasingly aggressive decisions. Bate exploited every mistake, her human defenders coordinating with the precision that came from countless generations of pack hunting. The non-human colonists played their parts too. Quilvan engineers maintained the equipment that Bates' traps required. Brevet civilians reinforced defensive positions with their superior strength. But the humans were the spine of the defense, the ones who never stopped, never retreated completely, never gave the enemy a moment of peace. On the second day, Bates started talking to the Kryn commander again. "You've lost 87 raiders. We've lost 12 defenders, none of them human. Your supply lines are stretched. Your troops are exhausted. Mine are just getting started." "We'll crush you eventually," the commander growled. "Numbers always win." "Numbers win when you're fighting prey," Bates said. "You're not. You're fighting predators who know this terrain better than you do, who can outlast you, who understand your tactics better than you understand theirs. Every hour you stay, we learn more about how you think. Every engagement, we get better at predicting you. How long before we know you better than you know yourselves?" The Kryn commander made his fatal mistake then. He committed everything to one massive assault, convinced that overwhelming force would break human resistance. Bate had been waiting for exactly this decision. She pulled all defenders back to a canyon system. The Kryn followed, thinking they finally had the humans cornered. The canyon was a killing field. Bate had spent 2 days preparing it, and the Kryn walked right into it. Avalanches triggered from above, crossfire from hidden positions, improvised weapons that turned the narrow space into chaos. But more than the tactics, it was the message that broke the Kryn. Bate broadcast from the canyon rim. "You're not hunters here, you're prey. I've been tracking you for 2 days. I know how you move, how you think, how you react to pressure. I've been inside your decision cycle since you landed. You never had control, you just thought you did." The Kryn retreated in disorder, racing back to their ships. Bate let them go. She'd made her point. Roke stared at the screens in the command center. Around him, council members watched in silence as the Kryn fleet lifted off, leaving behind their wounded and fleeing a force 1/20th their size. "She did it," Tess whispered. 50 humans defeated 2,000 raiders." "Not defeated," Petruk corrected. "Outthought, outlasted, outhunted. Bate didn't win with strength, she won with persistence. She turned the Kryn into prey and hunted them until they ran." Mara's glowing eyes found Petruk. "This is what you meant about humans being dangerous to threats, not friends." "Yes," Petruk said simply. "We're apex predators. That means we're very good at dealing with other predators. The Kryn hunt civilians for sport. Bate hunted hunters for survival. There's a difference." The council chamber was quiet. Finally, Roke spoke. "The vote on humanity's membership. I move we take it now." The vote was unanimous. 3 months after Haven's rest, Nunna walked through Meridian 7 and noticed the difference. Aliens still watched humans carefully, but the fear had changed into something else. Curiosity mixed with respect, sometimes even hope. Huss met her in the research wing, where they'd been working together on a comparative predator study. His 4 arms carried data tablets covered in notes. "Dr. Grant, I've completed my analysis. Would you like to review it before I present to the council?" "Of course." Nunna took one of the tablets. The title read Persistence Predators, Understanding Humanity's Dual Nature. She read through Huss's conclusions while he waited nervously. His research was thorough, examining human biology, psychology, history, and culture. He'd interviewed dozens of humans across the station and analyzed footage from Haven's rest frame by frame. "This is good work," Nunna said finally, "fair and accurate." "I tried to be objective," Huss said. "Though I admit, the more I learned about humans, the more fascinated I became. Your species is a contradiction. Apex predators who domesticated other predators. Hunters who protect prey. Beings capable of extreme violence who build hospitals and schools." "We contain multitudes," Nunna said with a slight smile, an old human saying. "It fits." Huss gestured to a section of his research. "I've been comparing human behavior to other apex predators across the galaxy. Most predator species that achieve sapience lose their hunting edge. They evolve past it, become more passive. Humans didn't. You kept your predatory capabilities and built civilization on top of them. Is that bad? Nuna asked. No, Huss said thoughtfully. Just unusual and powerful. At Haven's Rest, Commander Stone demonstrated something the Council needed to see. Humans aren't dangerous because you're violent. You're dangerous because you're adaptable. You can be whatever the situation requires. The door opened, and Daniel entered with Putrock. The ambassador had been working with Council security forces, teaching tactical thinking. The results were already showing. Mixed species security teams were performing better, thinking more strategically. The Council wants to see us, Putrock said. All of us. They have an announcement. The Council chamber felt different this time. Less intimidating, more welcoming. Mara stood at the center, her usual serene expression touched with something that might have been satisfaction. 3 months ago, Mara began, we questioned humanity's place in the Galactic Council. We feared your predatory nature. We worried about what you might become if threatened. Haven's Rest answered those questions. She gestured and holographic footage appeared. Bates Stone coordinating the defense, human and alien colonists working together, the Krun retreat. You showed us what human apex predators look like when they choose to be protectors instead of hunters, when they apply their capabilities to defense instead of conquest, when they use their persistence and adaptability to guard others instead of harm them. Tess stepped forward. Commander Stone has been awarded the Council's highest civilian honor for her defense of Haven's Rest. She saved 800 lives from multiple species. The Quolvan Federation has requested human security advisors for our frontier colonies. Rolk added his voice. The Brevet Compact would like to establish a joint military training program. We want to learn human tactical thinking, not to use against the Council, but to better defend Council interests. Putrock bowed his head respectfully. We'd be honored. Humans have always believed that the best way to avoid war is to be ready for it. We'll teach everything we know. That's what we're counting on, Mara said. But this goes beyond military matters. We want humans integrated throughout Council society. Teachers, researchers, security personnel, diplomats. Your unique perspective, your predatory focus applied to problem solving, your refusal to give up on challenges, these traits benefit everyone. She looked directly at Nuna. Dr. Grant, your work with the Tudja showed us that understanding predators requires predator insight. We're establishing a new xenobiology program. We'd like you to lead it. Nuna felt her heart race with excitement. I accept. Mr. Wu, Mara continued, Council Security wants you to head a new tactical training division, teaching other species how to think like humans when facing threats. Daniel nodded. I'll do my best. Ambassador Hayes, you'll remain humanity's representative, but we're also appointing you as special advisor on conflict resolution. Your experience with human-on-human warfare gives you unique insights into de-escalation. Putrock smiled. Ironic, using my knowledge of violence to prevent violence. The best use of such knowledge, Mara said. Then she paused, her expression becoming serious. We need to address something directly. Humans are apex predators. This is fact, not accusation. You evolve to hunt, to track, to persist until your prey exhausts. These capabilities make you formidable and, yes, potentially dangerous. The chamber was silent, waiting. But, Mara continued, predators serve a vital role in any ecosystem. They keep prey populations healthy. They remove sick and weak individuals. They maintain balance. The galaxy needs apex predators not to hunt sapient beings but to hunt threats, pirates like the Krun, criminals, those who prey on the innocent. She spread her arms to encompass the entire council. Most species in this chamber evolved as prey. We're good at hiding, at fleeing, at avoiding conflict. But sometimes conflict cannot be avoided. Sometimes threats must be confronted directly. For that, we need predators. We need humans. Huss stepped forward, holding his research. I've studied 57 apex predator species across the galaxy. Humans are unique in one critical way. You're the only apex predators who choose what to hunt. Most predators follow instinct. Humans follow choice. That makes you more dangerous than any other predator species, but it also makes you the most trustworthy, because choice requires responsibility. Nana felt the weight of those words. Choice and responsibility, the two things that separated humans from mindless predators. The Council's decision is unanimous, Mara announced. Humanity is fully accepted as Council members with all rights and responsibilities. Furthermore, we're creating a new classification, guardian species, apex predators who choose to protect rather than hunt, who use their capabilities in service of others. Petruk stepped forward. On behalf of humanity, we accept this honor and this responsibility. We'll be the guardians you need, the predators who hunt predators, the protectors who never quit. We know you will, Mara said. We've seen what happens when humans protect those they claim as pack. Haven's Rest proved that. 50 humans held against 2,000 raiders because they refused to abandon 800 civilians. That's not just tactical skill. That's loyalty. That's pack bonding applied across species lines. She looked at each of them. That's what the galaxy needs. Not humans pretending to be prey, not humans hiding their nature, but humans being exactly what they are, apex predators who choose to hunt in defense of others. The council members stood, a gesture of respect. Species who'd feared humans 3 months ago now trusted them, not despite their predatory nature, but because of it. Because they'd seen what humans did with that nature when given the choice. Later, Nina stood on the observation deck with Hess, looking out at the stars. The Quilvan researchers' crystalline eyes reflected the distant suns. "Do you think it will last?" Hess asked quietly. "This trust?" "That depends on us," Nina said. "On humans continuing to make the right choices. Every day, every generation, we have to keep choosing to be guardians instead of hunters." "That's a heavy burden." "Yes," Nina agreed. "But it's our burden. We're apex predators. We evolved to carry heavy burdens over long distances. Persistence, remember. We don't quit." Hess made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I've noticed. It's actually quite annoying sometimes. Humans never know when to stop." "That's because we're too stubborn to recognize when we should," Nina said with a grin. "Another apex predator trait. When we commit to something, we commit completely." "The galaxy is going to have to get used to that," Hess observed. "They will," Nina said confidently. "Eventually, we're patient. We can wait." Below them, the station continued its rotation. Humans and aliens working together, learning from each other, building something new. Proof that apex predators could choose cooperation over competition. Proof that the most dangerous predators were the ones who chose not to hunt. And in choosing became something more than predators, became guardians, became friends, became the protectors that a galaxy of prey species desperately needed but never knew to ask for. Until humans showed them what was possible.